morning. Good morning, everybody. I think most people have joined, but we'll let any latecomers in as soon as we get started here. Thank you for joining us this morning. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Deanne Cairns, and I'm the Executive Director of the Saskatchewan Genealogical Society. I'd like to first of all start off this morning by thanking our Weyburn branch for sponsoring this event today. It's very much appreciated, and we look forward to the presentation. Before we get started this morning, I'd like to acknowledge that here in Saskatchewan, we are, on treaty land. SGS and its branches are located throughout Treaty 2, 4, 5, and 6. The original land of the Ojibwe, Saulteaux, Dakota, Nakota, Lakota, Cree, and Stoney, and homeland of the Métis. A couple of housekeeping items for you this morning. Please be aware that the session is being recorded this morning. It will be available for 7 days, starting on Monday, on our YouTube channel. If you need to look back, Christine tells me there's a lot of information in here, so you may want to refer back to it during the week. And I'll put that link in chat as soon as we get started, as soon as Christine starts this morning. I also ask that you keep your microphones on mute throughout the presentation, just to reduce the background noise for our presenter this morning. We are very fortunate to have Christine Woodcock with us this morning. Christine is a genealogy educator who enjoys sharing knowledge and opportunities with others to assist them in their quest to find Scottish ancestors and to preserve their family legacy. Genealogy researchers have become accustomed to subscription websites and find navigating the ScotlandPeoples website to be too steep of a learning curve. Given that that is the only place where you can access images of the actual documents held by the registrar, it is critical that Scottish researchers are comfortable using this website. Christine's presentation today will help you make your searches more successful. Christine will have some time after her presentation to answer any questions that you might have. So please hold your questions until after the presentation and put them in the chat, and I will pass them on to Christine in the order in which they come in. So Christine, I'm going to turn it over to you this morning. Thank you for coming.
Super, thank you. So just before we start, just to let people know that because this is a live walkthrough of the website, doing a handout is virtually impossible. So be prepared to take notes, which is again why you're going to want to go back and watch this, the recording of this a bit later. I'm just going to move all the videos out of the way so I don't get distracted. Okay, so this is the website for, it's called ScotlandsPeoples.org, .gov.uk. It is the government website for the Registrar General for Scotland. It is the only place where you will be able to find the original certificates. When you're on Ancestry or Find My Past, you won't be able to see the original certificates. You'll get transcriptions or you'll get indexes, and you miss quite a bit of information that way. If you are in a family history library, there are quite a few of the records actually that you can get on microfilm, and those are actually microfilm copies of the documents, but it's not always easy to do that, and so you really need to learn how to use this website. So you are going to start by going to scotlandspeople.gov.uk, and you're going to register for an account. This is absolutely free. Let's just see what it does here. So it really just asks basic information. It's your first name, your last name, the country you're from. They use that for statistical purposes just to see who it is that's using their website. An email address. You want the email address because if there are any issues, they can be back in touch with you, and then set a password that is meaningful to you, and then you're pretty well set to go. I already have an account, so I'm just going to log in. Here we go. And up in the corner here, it shows how many credits I have currently. So you need to use credits for this website, and that's really what sticks people up, because they're so used to, I think that Ancestry has really made us lazy researchers. We're so used to finding a name, clicking on the document, nope, not ours. Find a name, click on the document, nope, not ours. Next document, nope, not ours. And so people just chew through these. You can't do that on Scotland's People because you are going to waste your credits. So you really need to learn how to use this and how to use it smartly. And hopefully we're going to be able to do some of that today. So just to show you, we have the account in here, saved searches. So if you, once you have searched, your searches are in here for life. Okay, so these are all the searches that I've ever done. Now I started using this. I didn't know actually that the website was brand new, I guess, when I started. It came out in, I believe, 2002. So mine here will go back, you know, pages and pages and pages, all the way back for what, 20 years now. And once I have done a search, I can just go ahead and look at that again. I don't have to pay for the document after I've already spent the credits the first time around. So there they are. And you can see here, it says view the image and that I've already paid for it. Okay. Now, if I've looked through here and some of these are not relevant to me, I can go ahead and remove them so that I don't have to get caught up on them again. So that, you know, I'm not looking at things that aren't important to me. Honestly, I'm not organized enough to go through and do that, but I probably should at some point. You'll also see in here saved images. So once you have, again, looked at an image, they're all here. Again, you can delete those if you want. I can add a description of what that is. Maybe I can. There you go. So I can, you know, I could put that in there. I think it was his death certificate or something. I didn't look at it close enough to see what it was. Yeah, so it was a census record. So I can just, if I wanted to do that, add in here, Walter Haddo 1911 census. And I can see that from the header as well. And again, once I have paid the credits the first time, I can go back as many times as I want and look at this. And again, it goes on for pages and pages and pages, because it's every one that I've ever done in here. Okay, so in here, I can go and I can buy credits. All right, so it's 30 credits for £7.50, 40 credits for £10, which is generally what I tend to get, 80 credits for £20, and 160 credits for £40. Once you buy the credits, they're in your account for 1 year. And it's like rollover minutes on a phone plan. So if it's 363 days and I have 5 credits left, if I buy 30 more credits, then I'll have 35 credits for another 365 days. Now and actually this is quite a bonus for me, because when I started using Scotland's People website, you literally had 24 hours to use your 30 credits. And I can tell you there's not a Scot in the face of the earth who is going to let any of those credits go to waste. So, you know, we all pulled all-nighters trying to find our ancestors and not waste our credits. No, not lose them. It wasn't a matter of wasting them. It was a matter of losing them. So it also says in here that you cannot use credits to purchase certificates. So anything that is outside of the privacy. So if you're looking at births that are within the 100 years as opposed to 100 years or more, then you would need to order the certificate. And I believe that's £13. It's been a bit since I've ordered one, but it's in around there. So it's £13 to get a certificate, but I can actually get 5 certificates for £7.50, which is about $12 maybe. So it's a little over $2 an image, which honestly is a pretty good bargain. You can pay by credit card. You can't pay by debit card here. You can if you're in the UK, but you can also use PayPal, which is generally what I do. All right, so let's, and the other thing you're going to want to do is check out the help and guidance. They have guidance about researching for pretty well everything you could ever imagine. All right, so if we just go in here, topics A to Z, you can see that pretty well anything that you would want to know about, you can find a guide in here to assist you. So whether it's counties or immigration, forenames, registering illegitimate births, unfamiliar words, weights and measures, just all kinds of stuff in here. And, you know, it's like Library and Archives Canada. There are so many behind the scenes things that people just really aren't aware of. And so I really would encourage you just to have a look around the website before you start to do any searches. The news and features is they have a blog that they do. Any new record releases, they will also post on here. So this is really just kind of a mishmash of stuff in here. All right, so search. So you can search a number of ways. You can search images. I think they have 2,200 images. I haven't found anything particularly relevant. A lot of it seems to be boats and stuff. You can search by place, and that's helpful if you're doing something like a evaluation role, for instance. The maps and plans are not, honestly, I'm not really sure the point, but so maps and plans are really like, they're maps that were within other record sets. If you're looking for maps to do research, you definitely want to go to the National Library of Scotland website. That's where you're going to get the map, and it really is, it's a phenomenal website. So I highly recommend it, and it is free to use. The maps and plans in here are things that were within other documents. So it might be an architectural drawing. It might, you know, it's really not a whole lot of anything. Let's just see what's in here. So let's just do, we don't know what the reference number is. We're going to search. So here you go. So plans of harbors, bridges, plans showing lands claimed by the borough, plan of, I don't know what that is, another land belonging to the Crown, architectural drawings of the manse, tracing plans of Rendell, plan of the long yards at Kirkwall. So really, honestly, not stuff that most people are going to want to use. And this is, so there you go. So yeah, not really sure. I mean, you know, this came out at a time when we had been promised, when they switched over from Bright Solid to whoever it is that runs the website, the idea was that this is where the big record sets were going to start being deposited. So the first out was to be the Kirk session records, and that was going to be followed by, you know, who God knows what. I mean, still hoping, I think, for court records, but and whether that happens or not, I have no idea. It's just in my own head. But it was, you know, over a decade that we were waiting for these to come out. And I think that people were getting so frustrated that nothing was coming online that they decided, okay, well, let's put something up. And so they put this up. And honestly, I have no idea. It really didn't appease anything. Virtual volumes, these are where you're going to find the newly released Kirk session records. And also the Scottish Cabinet records. And these are government records. So again, I need to really do some exploring on them to see how relevant they are to family history research. The Kirk session records are fabulous, and we'll look at those in a little bit. And then again, you get the guidance guides down here. So again, we'll go into this, do the people search. And this is what you're going to get from there. So you can do statutory registers. So that's 1855 to the present day. Anything before 1855, you're going to be looking in the church registers. Those are the old parish registers. Census returns are in a separate box, valuation rolls, legal records, which are wills, airmen's and soldiers' wills are in there as well. Poor relief and migration, this is separate. I believe it's free. It's a scheme that was put out by the Highlands and Islands. It was a scheme to get people to emigrate to Australia, actually. Yeah, it's not really that. I'm just going to leave that blank. All right, and this is, so it was people who, it tells you right here who the person was, the name of the ship that they went on, the date that they departed, where they departed from, where they were planning to go, and where they normally resided. So it's really just the passenger list for the people who were going off to Australia. And this is specific to Australia, from the Highlands to Australia. It's not any other part of Scotland, and it's not any other part of the world that they were going to, okay? And it gives you that. Those are free, by the way, to look at, as are the Kirk Session records. The Kirk Session records are not indexed. I think part of the reason that it took so long to come out was that they originally thought that they would have them indexed and they would have a subscription plan at that time. But honestly, indexing them is just more work than it's worth. So they are out in virtual volumes. They are free to search, but it takes quite a bit of work to search them. So let's look, for instance, at church registers. So these are the OPRs. I can do births and baptism, banns and marriage, death and burials, other events. So let's do banns and marriages. And I can choose here whether it's Church of Scotland or Roman Catholic or any other churches. Oh, actually, maybe that might be too soon. Now I can put the spouse's name in there if I know it. And then I can either do the whole of Scotland or I can narrow it down. I believe, let's go Lanarkshire. I think most of them at that point were in Glasgow, but we'll see. Oh, you know what? Maybe let's go Midlothian. Oh, no results. So there you go. So let's do just Haddo. And let's do all of Scotland. For some reason, it doesn't want to work. There we go. There we go. So this is the marriages. And I can tell which one that I want to look at because this is, so I've put in Haddo as the surname. And then I can look through. I don't have any Adams, so I know none of these are mine. And then it also gives me the name of the spouse. So I know whether or not I'm actually getting the correct certificate. All right. Let's see what we've got down here. Okay, and that will give me, if I look in there, I will get the marriage. It doesn't look like I have any in here, so let's just, Robert and Mary. That sounds pretty cool. And this is going to tell me, I mean, obviously it was put together by a Scotsman. Just before I do this, I just wanted to say that, you know, this index goes on for pages and pages, and you can search through this every single page for as many as there are, and it doesn't cost you anything. So it really does give you the chance to look down, make sure that you have the correct person before you, or pretty close to the correct person before you are spending any credits. And then it's 6 credits to see the actual certificate. And there we go. Okay. So I don't see it on here. I just need to move this up. And there we go. So it's Robert Haddo in the parish of Douglas and Mary Fleming. Yeah, not really sure. Yeah, so that's in 1708, so 16th of October, 1708, and it was after proclamation of the bands. Okay, and now that I've purchased that, it is here for me forever. It will be in my searches. All right, and so I can save this to my computer. All right, to wherever it is I want to save it. I can print it out. I'm just going to go back, zoom out. When you are doing I need to go back to search results. When you are putting in your source, citing your sources, this is what you need to put in. Don't worry about the Elizabeth Shown Mills. It's too complicated for Scotland. I don't know what they were thinking when they did that. This is what the Registrar General wants you to put in for your source. So it's the 16th of October, 1708, Haddo, Robert, Old Parish Registers of Marriage. 649 is the parish, and then it gives you page 32 of 280, Crown Copyright National Records of Scotland. They also suggest that you put in the image was generated 29th January 2022. I really honestly don't know the point of that. Maybe because I don't do client research, I don't bother with that, but in my own for my own purposes, I just put in the bold black lettering up in here, and I don't bother with the time that because it really doesn't matter what time So the other thing is that this is quite dark in here. You can still read it. If in fact you couldn't read it, and not because you can't read the handwriting, but because it was smeared, or it's too pale, or it's too dark, or you get your ancestor happens to be the one that there's a line through, you can contact them and they will rescan the image, and they will send it to you by PDF. If you are in the Scotland's People Center and they rescan it, you'll get it within a couple of hours. But you need to be able to give them all of this information at the top, including the time and date that it was generated, so that they can go and pull the correct record. All right, and then if you want to see the page before, it's 6 credits. If you want to see the next page, it's 6 credits. I can download it as a PDF. If I save it, it comes out as a JPEG. So it's entirely up to me. All right. And again, I can look at this as many times as I want. It's not going to cost me any more credits. Okay. So statutory records, let's do a birth. I actually know that it's Airdrie, but we'll just see what it comes up with. All right, so this is a birth, and these are all the Henrys. So Henry Harley, I know isn't mine. James Henry isn't mine. Henry Penn isn't mine. Richard Henry isn't mine. I can also check to see where they were, where it was registered. So Blackfriars, I don't even know where that is. Partick is in is part of Glasgow. Camasneath and Govan is part of Glasgow. Carluke is in Lanarkshire. Gorbals is part of Glasgow, as is St. Rollox. So the one that I want is Airdrie. As I said before, I knew that it was in Airdrie, and I know that his middle name is Fowler. That was his mother's maiden name. All right, so again, I'm going to put in there 1893, Crawford Henry Fowler, statutory births. The parish is 651. The volume number and the page number are on there. And this is actually my grandfather. Oh, there you go. So it is Henry Fowler Crawford, was born 1893, January the 16th at 6 o'clock in the morning at Glengowan by Airdrie, was the name of the farm, I believe. His father was Hugh Crawford, who was a coal miner, and his mother was Agnes Crawford, MS Fowler. MS is maiden surname. So Agnes, I can then go and check marriages for Agnes Fowler and Hugh Crawford. And it says here that Hugh and Agnes were married November the 28th, 1890 in Airdrie. And that's how I can get their marriage certificate without having to waste any credits. And then it says that he was present at the registrar's office. All right. Again, I can save it. I can download it as a PDF. I can print it out. I can add it to the timeline. I haven't done anything with the timeline here, so there's no point doing that. So census returns, let's go with 1911. So just this actually is in Midlothian, but so this is, you need to know parish boundaries for the time in which you're researching. So this is my great grandfather on my dad's side, Walter Haddo, and they were living in Midlothian in a place called Mid Calder. Now, Mid Calder was in Midlothian then. The boundaries have since changed and it's now West Lothian. So I won't find Walter if I'm looking in West Lothian. I need to know that he was, at that time, Midlothian was in, or sorry, Mid Calder was in Midlothian. They were in the same house for 4 generations. They never moved, the house never moved, but the boundaries did. Imagine that there's, sir. Let's just see. There we go. So there they are. All right. So again, there they are on the census. So the 1911 census, I quite like. Let me see if I can just zoom in. Oh, good grief. Zoom in a bit on this. All right. So this is, see if I can find them first. So, okay, so here's Walter. So this is Walter. He was the head of the household. This is his wife, Mary McCabe. It gives Walter's age and Mary's age. And then it gives their daughters, Maggie, Mary, Jeannie, and Kate. Jessie was already married, so she was not in the home by that time. And then here, this really helped me because I have a photograph of my paternal grandmother, Maggie, with her family, with her mom and dad and her sisters. And there's a little girl right in the front that is holding a basket of flowers. And I never really knew who that child was. I had thought for a while that maybe they had a late life baby. But it wasn't until the 1911 census came out that it said here that Mary MacDonald was living with them, and she's the granddaughter of Walter, which means that she is my dad's oldest sister. She was Maggie's daughter. Maggie then subsequently married my grandfather, Archie. And then it gives the ages. So Maggie was 22, which means that she was 21-ish when Mary was born. Daughter Mary was 18, Jeannie was 12, and Katie was 9. But over here, this is new on the 1911 census, and we call this the fertility columns. So this shows that they are married and these two are single, and obviously the two little ones are going to be single as well. This says that they were married for 30 years. They had 10 children born alive and only 6 are currently living. So I know that somewhere along the line, prior from the time that they married, presumably up until 1911, they lost 4 children. And so I can go back and find those 4 children that that died quite young, I guess. They just want to see if that column shows you right here. Yeah, so particulars as to marriage, duration of the marriage, children born alive, children still living. And then this says single, married, widower, or widow. This column is whether they speak Gaelic or English, male or female, relation to the head of the household, number of persons in the household, and it said 7 next to the haddos. Name and surname of each person, and rooms with 1 or more windows. The other thing that's in these is, and this comes up later, I think it comes up probably, geez, I'm not really sure, I think 1691 maybe, is the houses. Sorry, whether they were inhabited or uninhabited. And you can see all of these were inhabited, but there could be houses that didn't have anybody living in them. And so the numerator simply put on there that it was, there you go, 1 uninhabited. So they haven't written anything in, just that it's an uninhabited house. All right. But one of the things that you want to look at while you're here as well is the headers. Okay, so this is the first page really of the census record. This is free to check. It's not any more credits to look at this. So this is the Census of Scotland, 1911, registration district, Mid-Calder in the county of Midlothian, enumeration district number 4. The name of the enumerator is Mr. James Brown. And then it tells you in here as well who this was checked by afterwards. So it looks like it's been checked a couple of times by an M. Watt and an A. Sked, that looks like. And then they fill in here the subdivision. And then the numeration district over on this side. So what this is saying is for the civil parish of Mid-Calder, they were doing it in its entirety. The parish ward, Mid-Calder and Bell's Quarry, again, did it in its entirety. The ecclesiastical parish did it in its entirety. School board district, parliamentary constituency. So they are all Mid-Calder, but the parliamentary constituency is Midlothian. So that would be the county. And then it tells you police borough, borough ward, special water district, it's Mid-Calder, special lighting district, again, Mid-Calder, both done in their entirety. And then the town, village, or island, and the village is Mid-Calder. The description of the boundaries of the enumeration district, that part of the civil parish of Mid-Calder, of the Mid-Calder and Bell's Quarry ward, and in the school board district of Mid-Calder, known as the Mid-Calder Special Water Supply District. So it's very clear as to where it is that they are doing their enumerating. List of roads, streets, courts in the enumeration district. The above district includes the village of Mid-Calder, Bridge End, Riverview, Calder Bank, Glen Almond, Almond Bank, Linden Bank, and Linwood. And then you're going to go to the next page. All right, and this is just a summary, so it's totals. So it's totals of the number of schedules, the number of inhabited houses, the number of uninhabited houses, windowed rooms, total number of persons, males and females, and whether they were Gaelic speaking or English. All right. And then I imagine they've tabulated that at the very bottom. Contents of the enumeration district. And then it's pages of the enumeration book, or pages 1 to 20, civil, parish, and ward, Mid-Calder and Bell's Quarry, Mid-Calder, Midlothian. This is all pretty much the same stuff that was on the first page. There's the number of houses that were inhabited versus uninhabited for the entire area. Windowed rooms, persons, males, females, persons speaking Gaelic only or speaking Gaelic and English, and then the totals on the other side. And this is an example. So this is a sample in the enumeration book that gives the registrar or the enumerator sort of a guide as to what it is they're expected to write. And so you can see in here, I need to, let me try that again. Yeah. This is how they are supposed to do it. Okay, so it's the name of the street, the name of the people, and then at the end of each household, there's to be a bold line, and then that takes you into the next household and the next household. And this person is a lodger in their house. This is a visitor. Okay. So it just gives them a sample of what it is that they are. So this isn't anything in particular. It's no actual family. It's no actual village. It's just simply a sample of how they're supposed to fill out the form. Okay. And then we'll leave the header. So this is for every census. They have that, and you can take a look and see what's different. The other thing to look at when you're doing the censuses is this stuff up at the front as well, up at the top rather. This changes over time. So it's the things that they're asking up in here. This will change these. So the particulars to marriage is new for 1911. Gaelic or Gaelic and English, I think, was about 3 censuses. Relation to so in the 1841, you don't even get the relation to the head of the household. You just simply get their name. And then as I said, rooms and inhabited and uninhabited, they weren't in the original ones in 1841. So the censuses go from 1841 to currently 1911. 1921 will be out next year. It should have been out this year, but because of COVID and nobody being in the building in order to get these ready, it's been put off for a year. And there will be a big release probably by April of next year, I would think, somewhere between April and June of 2022. And you'll be able to see the stuff that's on there. So there were censuses in 1801, 1820, 1801, 1811, 1821, and 1831. They were only statistics. There were no names on them at all. And so because they were only statistics, it's like that last page that I showed you where it was just a bunch of numbers. That's why they didn't bother putting them on here, because it would have had no significance to anybody doing family history research. Just want to see if we've done, okay, valuation rolls. And again, you can pick your year. So valuation rolls, these are like property assessments. These were done every year, but they are on the Scotland's People website in increments of 5 years. And the reason they did that was they did a poll actually before they brought them out initially. And people said that they wanted to have be able to track their ancestors in between the censuses. So for this, for instance, you could do the 1851 census, the 1855 valuation roll, the 1861 census, the 1865 valuation roll, and so on. And it comes right up to 1940. And then you can just, again, we'll do a Crawford. Yep, spell it right, it helps. County, right? No results, really. Oh, for 1855, that's why. Okay, let's try that differently then. And then I just update my results. There we go. All right, so this shows that he was the occupier. So he was a tenant in there. The house was Hill End, in the village of Hill End. And there's the valuation rule. All right. So it shows you the number, gives you a description and situation. So it's in here, it says in the first one, it's house, stable, coach house, and office. The situation is Eastercroft Caldercrooks. The proprietor is John Glenn and Sons, Ingram Street in Glasgow. And then the tenant is Charles Glenn, a cabin maker, it looks like. The occupier was the same. And then it gives you the valuation for the yearly rent. And this gives you literally everybody all the way through the street. So unlike the census, this is really just the person living in the house or the owner. It's not everybody within the house. Okay, so here's Henry. So we have the house here, number 4 at Hill End. This is who it was owned by. Mrs. Isabel Jeffrey, 4 Dock Street, Dundee. And then it says that it was occupied by the tenants in there was Henry Crawford, who was my grandfather. The house next door was John Connor, who was also a Coleman. They likely lived in the same place. Worked in the same place. And then it gives the valuation for the value of the property. All right. And so what we see here is that it was valued at £5. So for anything over £4, they wound up paying a tax on. Anything under that, they didn't. All right. So it wouldn't be Henry that would be paying that. It would be the proprietor that would be paying that. Next page is already paid. How is that? Oh, okay, so this is page 2 of the valuation rule. So it's basically, it's just the same again for further along the street. So one of the other things that I did want to say when we go to censuses is that if your ancestor is at the bottom of the page, you're going to want to check the next page because they use all of the lines in the enumeration book. So if you had a family of 5 people and there were only 4 lines at the bottom of the page, then you're only going to get 4 people. Your other ancestor doesn't mean they were absent. They're quite likely number 1 at the top of the next page. So it is going to be extra credits, but that way you'll at least find your ancestor. All right, so let's look at virtual volumes. So we're going to do CH2, which is the Kirk sessions. We'll just do all of them and we'll search. All right, and as I said, these are free. So this is this gives you a brief description of what it is you're looking at. So this is Canon B. Kirk session records, cash books. This is Aberdeen Presbytery minute books. This is all alphabetical because I just did the whole of Scotland. Let's look see if we can go. So again, this is prior to, it says 1900 here. I would have thought it was earlier than that, but let's, And let's do in here shots. That sounds good. Of course not. Let's do oh, crying out loud. Oh, for crying out loud. There we go. So let's take this out then. So here's a sample of Kirk sessions. Let me just do that again. Virtual volumes. Volume search. Page 2. Church and court records. All right, so it depends on when you get out. I mean, these go quite far back. This one goes to 1673, 1709. It just depends on how far back you're going to go. Let's look for. So here we'll go with Sterling, just to have a look, to show you what's in here. All right, so this is the part that drives me nuts, is that this is page 1, and then you have to go to the next page that's available. The next page is available. You have to keep coming back to this. We're just going to click that out. So, and it can be quite difficult to read depending on what it is. This actually is pretty good. You will see the watermark in here, but just move it around so that you can read what's in there. Now, the thing that you're going to find in here most often are things like people being, so the Kirk session was, it's like the church court, and they'd be brought forward. It's a board of elders and the minister, and people would be brought forward for doing anything that was considered probably amoral. So if they were fighting, if they illegitimate births, you'll find in here, I mean, most of it, quite honestly, that's what you're going to find. You're going to find illegitimate births where the woman has been brought forward and made to confess who the father is, and she may or may not confess. They want them to confess so that they can have the father pay a fine, and then any relief that the mother might need for the child, the father would be responsible for, and not the church. Anything where people are, doing anything other than going to church on a Sunday. So if they're working on a Sunday or they're having recreational stuff like playing golf on a Sunday, they would be hauled before the Kirk session. If they took the Lord's name in vain, or profaning it was called, they would be brought before the Kirk session, and then they would be rebuked, and they would be asked to pay a fine. The fine would go into the coffers for the poor relief, and anything that was anybody later who might need assistance from the church. So up until 1845, it was up to the church to pay to assist parishioners in any way that they could. And sometimes you'll see in the accounts books that, a shilling or 10 shillings was given to somebody passing through town, or to a pauper, or to a widow. And it's maybe just a one-time thing. Now, these are actually, you really have to look through here for your ancestor's name. So again, because of the extra work that's involved, that's why there's no fee for you to look at these. But they really do, even if it's not your ancestor, it's not such a bad thing to have a look at, because it really does give you a flavor of what it was like for the times in which your ancestor lived. I mean, the church ran everything, right? The church was it. You were expected to be godly, and you were expected to know your Bible, and you were expected to live a moral life. And anything outside of that, you were brought forward and made to tell them why you had fallen astray. And, you'll get people in here who perhaps were, you'll get women perhaps who had, are on their second or third illegitimate child. And so, they'll be rebuked the first time for fornication or antenuptial fornication, then they're rebuked for a relapse of fornication and a trilapse of fornication. And it just gets, on and on and on. I can't really see the whole thing here, but from any knowledge they can have of people and sentiments, it would be for the offensive perfume of all denominations of this time. So again, you can get, if your ancestor is in here, there's just a ton of information. It really just gives you a lot of the social history, and it helps you to fill in the story. But it really is, it's a bit of work to go in, and then you can just simply go on to the next page. Let's see if we can get. So August the 26th, the which day the session being convened, and Mr. Bradalbin, moderator, for cleaning the treasured compliments, are appointed to meet at 3 o'clock this afternoon in Mrs. somebody's house. Joan admitted as a petitioner at £6 per week. William Patterson and John Gillespie. Affair continued September the 30th, 1724. This day the session began being convened. Were delayed in their meeting until tomorrow at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's what you'll get sort of at the beginning. And then as they get through it, you'll get more information on what it is, the business that came before the church. Charles Dunlop, having appeared this time before the congregation, was rebuked and absolved from the scandal of antenuptial fornication. So this is Charles Dunlop and Margaret Drummond. So as it was continued. So they had obviously been brought before again previously, and now they are being brought back again, and they were rebuked. All right. So you can, like I said before, you can get original copies, and those you have to order them. They come in the mail. They are about, I believe, £14. Oh, £15, sorry. All right, I think I'll go ahead and let people ask questions. Oh, you know what I didn't do was the wills. So wills are 10 credits, but you can get quite a bit of information for that. Let's do this. And this is under the legal records. So you can get coats of arms, military tribunal appeals, soldiers and airmen's wills, wills and testaments. Crawford. So it just to give you a so this is the will. This is for Hugh Crawford. This actually, I thought this was my missing great grandfather, but it's not. And it tells you he was a grocery merchant, I believe, and it gives the inventory of all of his stuff and then who everything was to go to. And it's as many pages as, I just can keep going page to page to see. So it says it's image 446. The last image is 450. So there's 5 pages there that I can get for my 10 credits. All right, so there's the second page. So it goes on for quite a bit. And there is people that he either owed money to or that owed him money. All right. Okay. So like I said, I will stop and take questions. I'll also put in here my contact information. That's in the chat box.
Okay, thank you, Christine. Lots of information there to absorb, that's for sure. There's a couple of questions in the chat.
Sure.
I'll just pass them on to you. Here. Ellen has a few questions. She says, this is great info. Christine mentioned that she could get 5 certificates for $7.50 instead of 1 for $15. But how do you accomplish that? How do you do that?
So it's 30 credit. You get 30 credits for your £7.50. And it's 6 credits for each certificate. So I can get 5 certificates for my 30 credits. And that winds up just being a little over $2 for each one if I take the amount of money for the 30 credits and divide it by 5.
She also asks, where on the site do we request a new scan of an image if that's required?
Just, do this again. Yeah, right here. So in every single search result, it says here, having problems viewing this image. So I can click in there to open it in a new browser, or I can right here, it says report an issue. All right, and tells you how to contact them and what it is you need to give them. Okay, so it's on every single search result. When you go into the actual to view the actual image, it will say in here, report an issue, and you just click in there and that will take you to where you need to be.
Okay. One more here. Are there, and if so, where, records of parishioners' movement in and out and where to and from a parish?
So moving from one parish to another, those are certificates of character. So you would go to your current minister, let him know that you're moving, where you're moving to, and the church, and he would then write a certificate of character, which is basically just a letter of reference for you to give to the minister in your new parish. Those I don't believe are part of the Kirk Session records that are online, but they are available at the National Records of Scotland. And quite often you will be able to find those locally in the local archives as well. So Glasgow City Archives, for instance, would have the ones for the churches in around their area.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Christine? Ellen says, great help, Christine. Thank you. All right. Any questions? Raise your hand, put them in chat. Celeste asks, Are there immigration records around 1830?
Yeah, it's not on the Scotland's People website.
Any more questions?
I just wanted to do a shout out. I need to just check in here. We have in April the Scottish SIG for the OGS. We have a webinar. Let me just get this. So it's May 13th. It's at 10 o'clock in the morning, our time, which would be 9 o'clock in the morning, your time. And Tessa Spencer from the National Records of Scotland is going to do an in-depth look at the Kirk Session records. It's free at the time that we do the live presentation. So there you can register for that.
Excellent. Okay. So no immigration records around 1830. Shauna asks immigration in the 1920s.
Yeah, immigrations. I mean, you won't find
Just
any
not that.
immigration records on Scotland's People. It is the vital stats that you're going to get there. They do have the Kirk Session records are actually from the National Records of Scotland, and the immigration it was a database that was put up, and it was specific only for that particular scheme of getting people to from the Highlands to Australia. None of the other immigration stuff is available online.
Okay. Ryan's asking, what was the CH2 that you typed in?
That's just the reference number for the church records. CH2, I think, is Church of Scotland, and I think CH3 is any other church. And I only put that in because I knew it. I mean, most of the references, I haven't got a clue. I don't even know why I remembered that one, but I did.
Okay. Jill is asking, could you quickly review again what you can see for free?
Yes, you can see the Kirk Session records for free. You can see maps and plans for free. You can see the cabinet records, Scottish cabinet records for free, and you can see all of the indexes for free.
Can you do a death record search? Heather would like to know. She says she
Yep.
always has trouble with those.
I can. I've lost my thing here. Oh, here it is. So we will do blah, blah, blah. What was her name? Mac. All right, so this is actually my maternal great grandmother, and I've chosen this one for because of the information on it. So this is her right here. It was in 1951 in the county of Lanark. This is and so Agnes Mack, and it shows on here. Just let me zoom in. It shows on here that she was married twice. So the first marriage was to Hugh Crawford, who was my great grandfather, and then her second marriage was to George Blair Mack. And it gives the occupation for both men. So my great grandfather was a coal miner, and Geordie Mack worked in a quarry. It gives the date and time and place where she died. And it gives her age. and then it gives her parents. So her father was Henry Fowler, who was a coal miner, and her mother was Jeannie Fowler, whose maiden surname was Carrick. So we know that Agnes's maiden name then was Fowler because that was her father's, and then it gives you the reasons for her death. And I chose that one because I knew that she had more than one marriage. So I just wanted to, if she'd had 5 marriages, they all would have been on there as well.
Denise asks, my great grandmother just drops off the face of the earth when she gave birth to my great grandfather. What's the best way to find someone who disappears?
Yeah, if you can find Hugh Crawford, that's the first person I want to meet when I get there, and I want to ask him where the hell he went. So the other surname reference, somebody had asked about that, is it could be a maiden name. So women retain their maiden name on every certificate in the Scottish records, with the exception of the census. So you can search them by both. You can search them by their maiden name or by their married name, and you will come up with the same.
Great. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? I see none at this time. Any more questions? Here's one. Oh, Denise just added that she does have the birth certificate and her name, but can't find her after that.
Yeah, I would probably do a search for death and see if you can find her in that. But I mean, my guess is that she maybe died. Now, she may have died of complications of childbirth, which may not have been right away. They may be been within the month or something. But I would check that. And the other possibility is that depending on the circumstances, she may have ended up maybe in a poorhouse or an asylum. So, you know, maybe check her through for the census records as well.
Ellen is asking, is there a glossary of terms used in the documents or in the site?
I
And their
believe
short
there
forms?
is. Let's just see. So unfamiliar words and phrases. So there's abbreviations, Latin words, legal terms, medical terms, occupations. There's quite a bit in here, and that's all under the help and guidance.
Any more questions? Going once, going twice. Ah, there we go. Okay. Denise says, oops, I'm losing it. She gave him up for adoption 3 years later and no father's name. So.
Formally, adoption didn't happen until 1930. She may have, handed him over to relatives to raise. That was not uncommon. But formally, adoption didn't happen until 1930.
Cindy is asking, where would you find birth records for someone born in 1814?
Under the church records, the old parish registers. So you would do a people search, and then it would be the church records from that, and then it would be births and baptisms.
Any more questions? Okay. I see no more questions. Thank you very much for the great presentation, Christine. Lots to learn there, that's for sure. So we'll come to the end now of our session this morning. And I'd just like to take a minute to mention a couple of other events that are coming up here, sponsored by SGS. And we have our next chat with a genealogist on Saturday, February 12th. Jean Ashcroft will be doing a presentation on newspapers, vital statistics, fraternal and service clubs. And on February 19th, we're hosting a presentation by Dave Obie called Decoding the Dash. And you can find information and registration information on our website for both of those. But before I go, Wes has a question. I see his hands up, so go ahead and ask Wes. Did you have a question, Wes? No? Okay, okay. So once again, I want to thank the Weyburn branch for sponsoring today's presentation. Thank you to Christine for presenting this to us today. And of course, thanks to all of you for joining us today. So I hope you all enjoyed it. And as we mentioned, the recording will be available on the YouTube on Monday. So I'm sure you'll have to go back and review a lot of that information. There's a lot there to take in and a lot of valuable information. So thanks for joining us and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thanks, everyone.